Right, news. It's official. The XRP ETF has been approved, and I couldn't wait to share this huge milestone with you. In this video, we'll break down what just happened and why this is such a massive deal. Plus, I'll explain how this approval could be the final push BlackRock needed to get their XRP ETF across the line. And here's the exciting part. XRP price charts are starting to show some really promising signs. I'll dive into that at the end of the video, so be sure to stick around for the full scoop. As I mentioned earlier, I want to dive right into some big ETF news on the XRP front. Honestly, this one caught me off guard, but it's such an exciting sign that an XRP ETF might be arriving way sooner than I expected. Here's what happened. Earlier today, the SEC gave Grayscale the green light to convert their large cap fund into an ETF. Now, here's the really interesting part. This large cap fund doesn't just include Bitcoin and Ethereum. It also holds Solana, XRP, and Cardano. That means the SEC just approved an ETF that includes multiple cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, and Cardano, and they'll all soon be accessible on the New York Stock Exchange. This is a pretty big deal. Grayscale just got their large cap fund, which includes XRP, approved as an ETF. That means people are already getting XRP exposure through this fund. So approving an XRP only ETF should be a no-brainer for the SEC at this point. Plus, the SEC and Ripple are actively working together to wrap up their ongoing case, and it seems like they're on much better terms now. Fun fact, the current SEC chair is actually known to be a fan of XRP. The SEC approving a large cap fund that includes XRP is a huge deal. It's basically giving institutions the green light for an XRP ETF approval. Honestly, I expected the XRP ETF to get approved before this large cap fund, but hey, this crossed the finish line first, and that's fantastic news. It makes it pretty clear that the SEC won't have any issues approving an XRP only ETF now. They've already taken a big step in that direction. Here's why I think this is a game changer. This could be the spark that gets BlackRock to jump in and file their own XRP ETF. And trust me, there are solid reasons why this seems like the next logical move. BlackRock is a huge name in the industry, so it's no surprise they wouldn't want to miss out on something as straightforward as an ETF. Think about it. ETFs are big, recognizable investments, and the first one to launch is going to attract a ton of attention. There are so many people out there who've been waiting for a way to invest in XRP, but haven't had the chance until now. That early momentum is a big deal, and BlackRock knows it. They're going to want a great ticker for their ETF, something that's easy to find and closely tied to XRP. When people type XRP into their brokerage accounts, they'll want their ETF to pop right up. They're not going to go with something confusing or miss the opportunity to be one of the first movers. If one of these big XRP ETFs starts racking up assets under management, AUM, quickly, and BlackRock shows up late to the game, they could end up playing catch up. That would make it harder for their ETF to stand out or seem appealing to investors. Let's be honest, everyone wants the biggest and best option, and if you're late to the race, you miss out on that early momentum. Fun fact, BlackRock's previous or maybe even current head of digital assets used to work at Ripple. I'm pretty sure BlackRock noticed what happened last time around, whether it was them or not, who knows, but they definitely saw how the price of XRP reacted when they filed for their ETF. Now, it seems like they're saying, let's hold off until the very last moment to get this thing across the finish line. Honestly, there's no reason why BlackRock wouldn't file for it. There have already been reports hinting that they're planning to, and I think this could be the push they need to speed things up. If they don't act soon, they risk falling behind. And let's face it, nobody wants to be late to the party. I really don't think BlackRock would want to put themselves in that kind of position. It just doesn't make sense. The only way they'd go that route is if there were some serious Bitcoin and Ethereum maxes high up in their ranks. And hey, if that's the case, so be it. They might miss out on some big opportunities in the early stages. But honestly, I don't think that's what's happening, especially considering that a former head of BlackRock is an ex-Ripple employee who's spoken very positively about his time there. So it's not something I'm overly concerned about. I really think this is going to be the spark that gets things moving and makes people realize it's time to take action. Now, here's something interesting about the ETF news that not enough people are talking about. the huge inflows it could bring to XRP. Right now, a lot of folks find it pretty tricky to get their hands on XRP. Some don't trust Coinbase, others don't trust exchanges in general, and many don't want to store their cryptocurrency on an exchange. And honestly, that's fair. Sure, there are some good options to buy XRP, but not everyone wants to deal with the hassle of cold storage either. What people really want is something easy and familiar. That's where ETFs come in. They're about to make buying XRP super simple and accessible for everyone. And let me tell you, I know plenty of people with serious money who are really into investing and want to buy XRP. But here's the thing, they're not about to sign up for a Coinbase or Uphold account. Why? Because they don't want the hassle of managing their crypto on an exchange or dealing with a cold wallet. It's just too much of a headache. But here's where it gets interesting. If an institution handles custody on the back end and these investors can simply buy shares through an ETF, they'd feel totally comfortable and safe. That's a game changer. We're talking about opening up XRP to a whole new pool of money that couldn't access it before. And here's another exciting part. This isn't just about access. A lot of people are going to see this as a huge vote of confidence for XRP. It's like a stamp of validation. And that's a big deal. This is the kind of thing that's been missing, and it could open the floodgates for even more interest and investment. Here's the thing. This isn't exactly how it works. The SEC approving an ETF doesn't mean they're officially endorsing XRP. But let me tell you, that's how a lot of people are going to see it. Many will look at the approval and think, all right, the SEC just gave XRP the green light. People will assume the SEC has completely moved on from its case against Ripple and XRP, and that this approval legitimizes XRP. Technically, that's not what's happening here, but I guarantee this is the perception many will have. We'll see the ETF approval and think, boom, XRP just got the stamp of approval. It's legit. It's backed by the US government now. We've got to talk about XRP. This is big. Sure, it's not exactly how things work, but to institutional investors, this is going to feel like a massive green light. They'll see it as a signal to start stacking up on XRP before it's too late. Why? Because boom, XRP just got what feels like a stamp of approval from the United States. Again, it's not literally how it works, but it's all about perception. This kind of news can have a huge impact on how legitimate something appears, even if the real world mechanics are a little more complicated. Now, let's dive into the XRP price chart because there's a lot going on. And I think you'll find it super interesting to see how all this lines up with where XRP is right now. I've been sharing this chart on the channel for a while now, and let me tell you, XRP is looking absolutely primed. You don't have to be a chart expert to see it's coiled up so tightly, just waiting for the right catalyst to push it upward. Right now, we're in a consolidation phase. You can see how the highs keep getting lower, gradually pressing down against that top resistance line. It's like the pressure is building and we're just waiting for the breakout. The highs are settling down and so are the lows. But here's the interesting part. The lows are creeping higher over time. Sure, we had that one wild moment where things got a bit shaky, but they settled back down. Overall, what we're seeing is a consolidation within this pattern. Now, let's be real. There aren't any magic lines here. Nothing says this has to break upward or downward right now. It could take its time, drag on a little longer, and then make a move. There's no rule against that. What's clear, though, is that with XRP, the volatility is tightening up. Highs are coming down. Lows are going up and everything is compressing. Eventually, something is going to spark a big breakout, either up or down. Honestly, there's nothing statistically concrete that tells us if this is going up or down just yet. But when you look at the catalysts coming into play, like the legitimization of XRP, the various ETFs, and all the other bits of news, it feels pretty safe to say things are lining up to be positive for XRP. That said, this isn't the only chart we're keeping an eye on. The Bitcoin vs XRP price chart is getting really interesting too. We just saw a huge pump right into the middle of the range, and now it seems like it's finding support after a bit of a sell-off. XRP had a big run against Bitcoin, but stalled out when it hit some of the higher levels. Since then, we've been on a bit of a downward trend, but it looks like we're finally hitting a strong support level right now. If you compare this to past trading data, it's clear we're sitting right on a solid support line, right where XRP tends to make its reversals. Over the next few days, it'll be really exciting to watch and see if XRP can finally turn things around and make a big move upward. The goal is to break out of this pattern and start gaining against Bitcoin, especially as XRP looks to push past that formation we mentioned earlier. Let's take a closer look at the daily chart. It really helps highlight what's going on. Right now, it's clear we're seeing a slowdown in the sell-off against Bitcoin. Things are starting to stabilize, and it looks like we're trying to break above this key level. The past 3 weeks have been pretty wild. XRP has made multiple attempts to push above this level, but hasn't quite managed to do it yet. It's definitely an interesting moment. So let's zoom in and see what's happening. We just need the right catalyst to get things moving, like one of those XRP ETFs getting approved, some big news from Ripple, or a major partnership announcement. Something that can help XRP turn things around on the Bitcoin chart and break out on its own price chart. Everything's lining up really nicely so far. Now, the final piece we're all waiting for is Bitcoin's big breakout. If you look at the patterns, it seems like the altcoin market, including XRP, really takes off after Bitcoin confirms it's still climbing and not hitting a peak. Blockchain Backer shared some great insights on this earlier today. This is so fascinating. It's not something I usually watch, but comparing the Russell 2000 to Bitcoin is eye-opening. The formations on the charts are almost identical. And the Russell just had a big breakout. Every single chart, whether it's the altcoin market, XRP, Bitcoin to XRP, seems to be signaling that something big is about to happen. When you pair that with macro news, it all lines up. Reviewed GDP is looking strong, inflation is improving, and interest rates seem to be coming down. Plus, the stock market is hitting new all-time highs. There's so much exciting stuff happening in the crypto space right now. Tons of companies are coming out with impressive data. And in the US, we're seeing proposals for better market infrastructure for cryptocurrencies. Plus, there are loads of new tokenization projects popping up. On both the fundamental and technical sides, things are looking super bullish for the crypto market. It feels like we're just weeks or maybe a few months away from everything falling into place. When it does, we could see the market regain the momentum it had in late 2024 and early 2025. All these catalysts are lining up perfectly. It's shaping up to be an amazing moment for crypto. The great thing about XRP is that it's perfectly positioned to take advantage of all the exciting developments happening right now. While there's a lot of cool stuff going on across the cryptocurrency market, not all of it is in the spotlight when it comes to institutional ETF applications. That's where XRP really stands out. It's in the ideal spot. We're seeing some major progress with financial institutions actually using the XRP chain, and everything seems to be falling into place. It honestly feels like we're just weeks away from seeing this momentum reflected in the price charts. Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this update.